What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode here of Dolphins versus the World. And as always, we're joined by our producer. Joel is with us today and my co-host Anthony. And I'll just start off by saying first, Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you so much for the support. We really appreciated all the people who are watching. The last video is awesome to see the support. And continue just like, share, comment, subscribe, guys. We really do appreciate it. We hope to continue growing this for the new year. And yeah, thanks again. And we'll get right into it, though. I know what everyone's here for. The Dolphins just suffered all-time beatdown to close 2023 at the hands of the Ravens. And here we are. We are 6 days away now from playing the Buffalo Bills, with a chance to still win the AFC East. But boy, we'll talk about it. It just feels pretty bad right now. Just to be honest, as a Dolphins fan, it feels like it's always a vicious cycle, and we're back here. Those are my quick thoughts. Anthony, though, how are you taking the game?
Well, first off, Happy New Year to you and Joel and everyone. Hope everyone had a great night last night, stayed safe. Overall, to be honest, I'm surprisingly good in life. We talked about it a little bit before, Chase, how, when the last 3 years, really, I've been able to separate the Dolphins and my life, because yesterday was a really good day. A couple of things are lining up that make me really excited for the next couple months. And I sat there and we were about to go out to a really nice dinner with my parents, and my wife and I were hanging out, and I was like, am I really going to let the Dolphins game, I'm not going to let the Dolphins game affect me, even though we're getting absolutely destroyed and embarrassed, and we'll talk about all that. But life was really good. And really 3 years ago, it was when we lost all those games in a row with Brian Flores, when Tua was out for a little, and I was in Italy for a month. And it was the 4 games where we played the Bucks, Raiders with that screen pass in the end zone, the Colts game, and I think Jacksonville when Tua came back. And I was away the whole entire time in Europe. They're ahead. So the games were happening at 7 p.m. So I'm getting done really nice dinner in Rome and Florence. And I'm I'm not going to let the Dolphins losses affect, I'm sitting here in Europe with my fiance, who's now my wife. I'm not going to let these games affect me. Because, I tell people all the time and they get butthurt, or people are that's not true. But I'm telling you, fans get way more emotional most of the time, unless it's a big playoff win or Super Bowl win. Fans get way more emotional than players. My mom was talking about it at dinner because she's a Cowboys fan. She was like, well, maybe the players didn't want to play on New Year's. I was like, Mom, Tyreek Hill, for instance, is getting paid over $1 million per game. If you paid me $1.5 million right now, which is about what he's getting paid, I would get on my knees at the restaurant and lick the floor if you wanted me to for 3 hours. It's not they don't want to work on New Year's. And I think it's an important lesson. And the reason I'm kind of rambling on is because especially with New Year's, don't let these Dolphin losses, I'm mad. I'm upset that the Dolphins lost. We're going to talk about it. We're going to dig deep into it. But at the end of the day, if good things are happening to you in your life, or you had a good night, don't let the Dolphins game, at the end of the day, it doesn't change anything. You have no control over it. And these guys are still making millions of dollars doing what they're doing. And yes, it's upsetting, but you're still going to be a fan. We all are still going to be fans. And, as bad as it is, it's okay, just, don't let it dictate your life. You know what I mean? So overall, I'm doing really well, but obviously we got to get into this monstrosity and catastrophe of a game that was just played by the Dolphins.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. As I don't know if it's maybe just me maturing, getting older, and just more stuff happening in life, but
right.
Totally in the last few years, my fandom has changed a lot. I literally would used to be just held up in my room. When I was young, I think I was just young, but wouldn't be speaking to anyone, just mad as can be. But
Do you remember the Ryan Tannehill rookie game where he played the Cardinals and he threw for like 400 yards, but we still lost? Do you remember that?
yeah,
Okay, so I had just moved to Arizona, so there was a big game. Like they played in Arizona, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's a big game." I watched the game, and I vividly remember, like I so clearly in my head, losing the game. This is how pathetic I was. It's okay if you laugh and you're like, dude, that's stupid. I'm like, how old was I? Ryan Tannehill was drafted in 2012, so I was 14. So think about this. I'm 14, actually no. I was 13 years old at the time. So it's like, dude, you're a teenager. They lost. I literally got so mad that I started crying. I hid under my bed in my room with the door closed and told my parents to not talk to me for the rest of the week. Like, that's how pathetic I was. And I remember watching Ken Wisenhunt, who was the coach at the time, watching him and hating him like so bad. He's so pathetic with stuff like that. And now I think it's because as you get older, you realize like if life's good or bad, like it literally, like if you hate your job or something, the Dolphins win is not going to, it's like you still, if you're struggling with money or if you're doing really well with money or bad relationship or good relationship, it's like the game has such little impact and you have no control. And for me, it's every time after a game happens, like the Dolphins will get destroyed 56-19. And then after the game, they're like laughing with the other team and swapping jerseys. It's like, dude, these guys, like, when it gets to playoff time, when it's one and done, it sucks because it's like, well, now I don't get to play football anymore. But it's like, aside from those playoff elimination games, bro, these guys, I'm telling you, like, they're getting paid millions. The ones that are like financially secure, like they I promise you are not, it's not as heavy as we act like it is for us.
and there's still, like, I know plenty of people still who like are like a lot of fans, like their life are the Dolphins, and
Right.
that's fine. Like your identity,
No, yeah.
everything. Like I have no problem with that. Like that's awesome. But like, man, I mean, maybe it's the Dolphins, but like, just how many times like can they let you down before it
Right.
just like finally you got to be like, I can't keep doing this. Like it's just
Yeah.
it's like self-deprecating or
Yeah.
whatever. Like
And there's no judgment. Like if I'm not trying to, I don't mean to say it like in a judging way. Like if you really love the Dolphins and you get upset, I'm just trying to say like, don't let it affect how you treat people around you or how you treat yourself. And also, like it's not if the Dolphins are like your life. Like a lot of people don't have podcasts. Like we're the idiots, so I mean, we're still, and not that
I
we're
love
idiots,
sharing
but
my
like,
thoughts on this. I mean,
yeah,
it's
like
honestly.
right, like we talk about a podcast. It's not that the Dolphins, like I will still follow the Dolphins. I'll be watching the rest of the games. I'll be rooting, but like to let it emotionally affect you, like your life sucks now because the Miami Dolphins and these players who are getting paid millions sucked on Sunday. Now I'm not going to let it determine my emotion. I'm still going to root for the team like crazy, but I'm not going to like treat and not talk to people around me and be an ass because the Dolphins lost. Like no shot in hell. So. That's all I'm saying.
And yeah, and we'll get into the game here, like the actual game itself. But real quick, I just want to kind of talk about just some kind of narrative stuff. And I didn't tell you this beforehand, but like the people who are saying John Harbaugh is a jerk for like running up the score for like passing when they were already up by 30 points. Like what is wrong with you? Like you can't be serious. Like we put up 70 on the Broncos, and people were pissed we didn't get the to 73. Like, make up your mind, be happy with it. Like, I promise you, like you said, these players, like it doesn't hurt them as much as it hurts you that they,
right.
that 56 hung on them. Like, and I'm not questioning like that. They don't want to be there or anything like that. Like, obviously they care. They're professionals. Like they're doing what they're doing, and good for them, because as we saw with this game and the whole season, this is a dangerous game and injuries are going to happen like crazy, but they're still paid. Like their pride is not going to be wounded as much as you for like wearing the colors when you lose by 50. But whatever. And then the other thing is kind of people were just being like, their opinion on Tua shifted dramatically from that game. Like it's fine, but you need to realize like he's our quarterback.
Right. Yeah.
The future, like Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel, like this guy is a top 10 quarterback. Like sometimes, yeah, he'll be like worse than that. Sometimes he'll look like the best quarterback. But this is a guy that will consistently be able to get you 10 wins in the NFL. And that keep you with a job forever. I mean, look at Mike Tomlin. Like, if you could consistently stay above 500 in the NFL, you will have a job forever. And Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel do not care about that. They would like to keep getting the paycheck. They would like to keep the job. So Tua is our QB for the future. Like, come to terms with that, everyone.
Right.
If you're still wavering about that, like, you want to say this, you want to say he has the best team, that's the only reason, the weapons, whatever, like, the guy. And then last thing, and I'll kick it over to you if you got anything to add to that. What was I going to say for the last thing here? I don't remember, but while I'm thinking about that, anything you got to add as far as that?
Yeah, so to those two narratives, the first thing I'll talk about Tua, because there's a bunch of people, and I'm sorry if this hurts people's feelings, I don't care. There's a bunch of people that are not emotionally mature enough and intellectually mature enough to distinguish or differentiate the difference between being like Tua sucked today, but I still root for him.
Everyone's a Sith.
Right. I can still say that was a bad game by Tua. I expect more from him. He wasn't the only reason we lost. He wasn't a reason he didn't help us. He's going to be our quarterback. I will root for him. All those things can be true. And there's a lot of people that are too emotionally immature to where they aren't able to understand. And people say Tua and on, and I don't agree with that, because I think there's a lot of people out there that go to war like crazy for Tua, but are not afraid to actually criticize. But there's a bunch of people that are not just with Tua, they're fans in general. I hate the label Tua-non because they will do the same thing for other players. They're unable to criticize someone, but still root for them. And it's like, I don't know what you're going to do when you have kids or when you're in a relationship. If they must never be in like relationships. Cause like, I'm sure my wife gets mad at me. I've gotten upset with her many times. I still love her. I'm still going to be with her for the rest. Same with kids. They'll do stupid crap where I'm sure when I have kids, I'm going to be like, you're an idiot. Why'd you do that? But I still love you and you're still my child and you're still my kid. And it's like, Tua is still my quarterback. I'm still going to root for him, but let's not be too soft and sensitive to be able to say that like two guys up for MVP conversation, one of them delivered and the other one didn't. And yes, he didn't give up 56 points. So all the people saying he's the reason we lost, what are you talking about? He's not the reason we lost, but my opinion is I want Tua in those games like he did last year. Hey, dude, like it's a shootout. I need to see something here because yes, you didn't give up 56 points, but you also only scored 19. And if you thought you were going to beat the Ravens scoring 19 points, and I know it would have been, 21 had they gotten the extra 2 points or 20, but point is like that's not good enough. He knows that. And a big problem I have is like people think he's very sensitive. Or like they act more sensitive than him. Like, you don't think Tua is like, I suck today? You don't think Tua is like, I need to be better? Yeah. It doesn't mean, right. It doesn't mean Tua thinks he sucks or that he hates it. No, I don't hate Tua. Like, I root for Tua. I got so excited because I thought this autographed Tyreek helmet I got for Christmas was Tua. Then I found out it was Tyreek and I was like, oh my God, it's a Hall of Famer. It's worth a lot of money. But like, no, I still root for him. It's just, he played horrible. And that was a theme from everyone on the team except Devon Achane. He was the only player, maybe Zach Sealer, I guess you could put in there, forced fumble and a sack. He was the only player, Devon Achane and Zach Sealer, that you can look at and say, yeah, like, okay, I'm not really going to lay on you. But everyone else, every single other person that played, disaster. And then real quick to your first narrative, you had mentioned about the scoring up of points. Like, what are we doing here? I mean, I'll say this. If anyone's going to get upset about it, I should be allowed to, because I also got upset when the Dolphins did it to the Broncos, if you remember. I was like, to me, people were like, you don't go for 3 points. You don't go for the record. It's like, why? You just threw a bomb up 56 to like 13. What's this about like being respectful? Like, you haven't been respectful and it's fine, but you better go for it. And the Ravens at least always do that. Like, they're not going to be respectful, but they're not going to like pussyfoot, to use a lack of a better word, at the very end of the game. They're just going to sledgehammer right in the face the entire game. And that's why I thought the Dolphins should have kicked the field goal, because you already scored 70. You already embarrassed them enough. What's the point? And they had their backups in. Like, they're throwing with backups in. Like, yeah, if we put our second string in, and they still have Lamar out there throwing the football all over the yard. It's like, okay, what are we doing here? But like, they had their backups in, and we had our starters in. We
Those
weren't
guys
giving
play
up.
this too. Yeah.
Right, right. And that's what I said with a lot of people said with the Broncos. They had their starters in. We put our backups in. If you can't stop our backups, you shouldn't be upset with us. You should be upset with yourselves. So it's just people, again, it's people being upset because we got demolished, and they're willing to blame the Ravens, even though I don't like the Ravens and there's a lot about them I don't like. I'm not going to get mad at them for something the Dolphins literally did times 10 against the Broncos earlier in the season. So
yeah, I think like part of it is because you just read what people are saying on Twitter or whatever. Like, and it's hard to like look at the nuance of every situation, and context matters. Like that's like what I kind of wanted to. The last point I wanted to get to was the injuries. Like, if you just look at this, like you can clearly tell that Tyreek Hill is dealing with so many things that aren't on the injury report. Like when he hyperextended his knee on that one play, like I thought like he's done, and he keeps gutting it out. He keeps playing. Like this team is so injured. It's crazy. And like I feel that once every couple of years for every team, your quarterback, like even the Patriots, when they were having so much success, you're just quarterback's going to get hurt. It's just going to happen, and he's going to miss the whole year. That's a lost year. Like the Bengals this year, completely lost year. But what hurts for the Dolphins, to me, is like this is a lost year because of the injuries, and we're still like have 11 wins somehow. Tua, who everyone had questions if he could stay healthy, stays healthy the whole year. And like I said, like there's going to be a year again where Tua gets hurt. It's just going to happen, guys. Like it's the reality of the game. This is a dangerous game. Like it just sucks. Like that's why it's so hard to win a Super Bowl. And like no one talks about like
yeah,
it takes so much luck, like to not be injured. Like one key guy goes down, your whole season turns on its head. Even still, like with all these teams left, there's no guarantee that like Lamar will finish the season to Josh Allen, Brock Purdy, etc. Like there's going to be more injuries to come. But all that being said, to look at the game itself, I don't know about you, but the first like 2-3 drives, I was like, damn, like we're doing this. Like we're hanging with them. Like this is, if not the best team, the second or third best team in the NFL. Like, and we're right here. Like this is a bona fide Super Bowl contender. And then it just spiraled, and like it got to 56, but like again, like at a certain point, you kind of just throw it out. Like you move on. Like they still have everything to play for this week, and we'll get into it later. This is my worst nightmare was this game being Sunday night again. I feel like I'm just going to be
said that. I saw that. I thought of you. I thought of you last night. I was at dinner and I saw that it got to Sunday night, and I was like, man, Chase is pissed right now.
I'm trying to figure out how to get the PTO for Monday. Like I'm just, this is like, I know they'll somehow like stay in the game, so we'll have to be there the whole time and everything.
Right.
And I'll just be like, God damn it, and just waking up early. But all that aside, like you have a chance to play for everything. Like before the year, if I told you that we'd have one game to play for, like at home, the AFC East on the line, we would take it in a heartbeat. All Dolphins fans, like how it happened. Like I thought, obviously before the year, I thought we'd be chasing the Bills, and then maybe we'd like get a lucky break and have that opportunity to play for it. But it feels brutal that like we had it in our hands, and lost to the Titans, and here we are now. And boy, let me tell you, Bills fans won't be showing mercy to us, and nor the Bills players. And they have their flaws, so anything could happen. You know, as we've learned, this is a week-to-week league. You know, you're never as good as your good as your best. You're never as bad as your worst. But boy, with just the injuries on this team now, it feels like it's so much to overcome. Even if they do not beat the Bills, I'll be honest, I feel good about playing the Chiefs because they look broken. And I feel like that's a game at Arrowhead that the Dolphins can win. So I still think there's a lot to play for. Like there's growth this year, and we could do maybe when it's all said and done, sort of an autopsy of the season. But I do feel like there's growth. Like I feel like we're still trending up. Like we're definitely better than last year.
Oh yeah. Well, of course the 1 year Tua stays completely healthy, and it's awesome for him. I'm so happy for him, just for his mental state, that he hasn't had to deal with that this year. Of course, like the 1 year, it's like everyone else got injured, and it's like cool, great. So happy about that. But this game was just like, it's crazy because it was 10-7 after the first quarter. We were winning, and we had a chance to go up 17-7. Missed opportunity. And then even right before halftime, like even though we allowed 28 points, and I will say this, like one thing is, like even if the offense scored points, like it didn't really matter. I don't know why people, like the only way we would have won that game is if we scored every drive, because the Ravens pretty much scored like on every drive except like two, I think, one or two, and one of them was in garbage time. So it's like you would have had to do so much on offense to even win the game. Because the defense was just like, I've never seen one player in Eli Apple have that much of an effect on a team in the wrong way. Like he makes Noah Monogany look good. Like people are blaming like Vic Fangio. First of all, horrible game plan. I don't know what the game plan was for Lamar Jackson. You're paid more than me to know. I don't know what it was, and it wasn't good. But there were a lot of plays where it's just like Duke Riley and Eli Apple not knowing how to defend a wheel.
No one knew where to be, it felt like.
The lack of communication between them two cost 2 touchdowns right there. Now, I know you're saying that's still 42 points they scored, but two interceptions where we got crucial interceptions that led to points. And it's like, okay, you can understand where this game just got completely out of hand.
Let me ask you real quick. Sorry to cut you off, but on Eli Apple, like with this team, we have seen now that if Ramsey or X are out, this defense goes over from top 5. It's to bottom 5. Like, is that because? Do you think that's because of Apple, or like the level of like? Do you think if we put someone else in, like a normal average corner, we'd be okay? Or do you like, is Eli Apple that bad, or is it just?
I think he's really bad. I mean, you and I were both like, he sucks when he came here. I mean, there's a reason he had that reputation. I don't know. And I thought about this. To me, Chris Greer does deserve blame, and so does Mike McDaniel and the coaches, because other than the offensive line, pretty much every other position, there's like no one there to help. And I don't know. I there are other teams that get injured, not as much as Miami. But there are other teams that get injured, like the Ravens. And that's another thing where people blame injuries. And I'm like, what would have happened if the Ravens actually had like their 2 best defensive players? Actually, sorry, their 4 best defensive players are Matt Boogie.
Oh my God.
It's like, dude, I was like, there were so many injuries for the Ravens, and like it's a coaching, it's a mindset, it's a talent thing. Like there's just like better depth. And I feel like we're the only team where it's like when we lose starters, it's like so catastrophic, because other teams like the Ravens, it's like, do you understand? Like, I don't think people truly grasp. The Ravens beat the Dolphins. Understand what both teams had riding on this game. The Ravens beat the Dolphins 56-19, and they didn't play their starting safety, who's the best in the NFL, their starting cornerback, who's really good. They don't have their tight end, who was their best weapon on offense, their starting guard, who's one of the better guards in the NFL. They had so many people missing, and they still beat you by 56-19. So to me, it's more than just like skim. Like, I think it's just overall, I can't really pinpoint one thing. I just, the mentality of the team is, I don't know, like there's really a lot to get into, but just specifically with, the injuries and stuff, like it's not even the injuries to this suck. It's the type of injury. Like it's not losing Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. It's the fact that like they're gone until like October. Mm-hmm. Like I don't think people realize, like, you're going to play the first half of the season without Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb next year. Mostly. Not maybe if they do really well the first 6 games, but we know how McDaniel and that, like with this, how significant of an injury and how much they, like, look at what's his name? Who had the ACL tear last year?
Oh, last year.
Didn't Brandon Jones?
Yeah.
Did he have an ACL? Because Nick Needham was an Achilles.
Yeah. Needham was Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, but Brandon Jones didn't come back till like week 5 or 6, I think. So like they're going to be out,
Needham's
and
still
Brandon Jones got injured way earlier.
Needham's
I mean,
back,
yeah,
but they're not playing him.
right. But like for that type of injury, like you're going to be hitting week 8, and they're just going to be coming back. So like it's not even that. It's like, well, it's not that they're injured, but they'll be ready to go next season. It's like Jalen Waddle, maybe if he doesn't play. It's like no, like they're out for like the first half of next season, and that's huge. Your two best defensive players are gone for the first like 4 to 6 weeks of the season. That's like, so there's just so much yesterday where it's one thing after another that it was almost hard to comprehend. Like it didn't make sense. I've never seen a team that is viewed as contender be like that was as much of an elimination game as possible for a team that's guaranteed to make the playoffs and is 11-4. Like that's as much of an elimination game as possible, considering that they are going to be in the playoffs and they are 11-4.
And so me personally, like I've always never like I haven't been as fond of Chris Greer as other people. Like, I think he does do a good job, and I think he's like a good GM that he gets what's wanted, but consistently with the Dolphins, like going back predating Chris Greer, the construction of the roster is just it's not right. Like the lack of depth consistently at key positions is just it doesn't do the job. And we have seen it time and time again. Like come December, the Dolphins run out of gas. Like because of injuries, because of coaching, whatever you want to say, like the guys that are replacing the players aren't good enough. Like that is the bottom line. You have to have depth in this league. Guys are going to get hurt. Like we had 2 starters on the O-line. And any given play, Teron could go out. Like Chris Greer, he doesn't like care if you have an injury history or whatever, and that's crazy to me.
Right,
that has to be considered because every time this year it feels like we're having the same conversation where it's just like we don't have the horses. Like we're guys aren't.
It's really just offensive line, and that's really more coaching. It's not the personnel that's good. Personnel is actually horrible in the offensive line, but the coaching, that's why Butch Berry, he's done such a great job. But yeah, and that's why as I've gotten like really this year, I've gained a lot of respect for Omar Kelly because there's some stuff that like he says, I'm like, but that's kind of everyone. But every year he says something that we all laugh at. And then it comes December and we're like, okay, that was actually like dead on. And he said like this team has no depth at all anywhere. And it's the truth. And even wide receiver, I'm just going to say something right now. The wide receiver depth on this team is so overrated. Like you have 2 really good guys and then just a bunch of Jags. Just
remember when you thought we could get like something for Cedric Wilson? Like it's no mystery why we couldn't get anything from like people were talking. It's like we'll just dump his salary. We'll get like a 5th in return or a 4th.
Like everyone's like, our 3rd wide receiver would be a first on any other team. It's like no. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are really good. After that, it's like borderline almost. I don't think there's much of a difference between the wide receivers now. Again, I know Tyreek, but I'm talking about the other talent because teams are taking away Tyreek. We're seeing that. And sometimes Tua doesn't care if they take away Tyreek. He'll still throw to him and it's intercepted. But teams are taking away Tyreek. I said this would happen. I said he's not going to break the record. He's not going to get 150 yards a game, especially these last couple games when good defenses take him away. And then once he's taken away, it's basically like what Tua had when Brian Flores was here. The only difference is that you actually have a competent offensive coordinator, and I'm using offensive coordinator, not head coach, competent offensive mind who is your head coach that at least knows how to scheme for the talent around him and get his guys open. But the main things too, before I forget, because the main things as far as where we want to go with this, I need to talk about Mike McDaniel. I'm not going to keep going right now because I want you to be able to talk. I need to talk about Mike McDaniel. I need to talk about really like the offense because I'm noticing something about the offense and Tua. And then that's actually really all I have, to be honest.
So,
but I need to address those points.
Let's talk about McDaniel. And I don't know what you're about to say, but what I'll just say, like in regards to him, is like I think people just forget that this is this guy's 2nd year, like calling plays, second year ever being a head coach, and that's not an excuse. Like he has to be better, But like this is like think of any job. You're not going to go into any job and right away hit the ground running, be the best ever. And this is a tough reality. This is the NFL. Like people's lives, like as we said earlier, their lives are tied to the Dolphins, and he just has to get it done. Like there's no sugarcoating it, but it's not going to happen overnight. Right. And I don't know what you do, but like you got to like he's going to get better with time calling plays. Like, and he's gotten better than last year, and he should be better next year still. But it just it hurts to see like stuff just that feels so simple. Like, how can we move the ball 90 yards and then the last 10 feels like we're the Jets offense?
Right.
Like, it's so frustrating. Like it should just be simple. But for some reason, it's not.
Yeah, I didn't even really have too much of a problem, to be honest, with play calling this last game. Just game management. I think really just him as a coach. I'm getting to the point where like I love him as a coordinator, but I'm really questioning stuff with him as far as game clock management. And I understand, like I fully get, trust me, I as I've said, I've gotten in arguments with people defending McDaniel about it. I understand he's new, but at the same time, dude, like you have to understand what you have, right? If I'm a new server, I better not go work at a 5-star restaurant. I'll just say that because I'm still figuring shit out. Go work at IHOP or something. You have one of the greatest built teams that we have had as Dolphin fans ever. You can't mismanage it. And I just feel like right now, the mentality of this team is not tough enough. I don't think that mentally they are as locked in as they need to be. I don't know how to do that. I'm not saying I know better than him. I'm just saying from an outsider's view, they just don't look. And this isn't, and I don't know if it's a personnel. I don't know if it's because they live in Miami. This has been an issue always. We get into these December cold, tough football games, the Bills in 2020, and it's just like you get destroyed. You get completely outclassed. And I'm not trying to pin it all on McDaniel because, as I said, it's been happening before he got here. But just like, I don't know, at a certain point, I get, I still love all the stuff about him that I love. I love the creativity. I love that he's a player's coach. I love that the guys all rally around him. I love how he conducts himself. I love all that. But at a certain point, the cliche sayings of we're going to get better from this, the guys, this is good that it happened to them, eventually gets like, okay, well, let me see it, right? If you get in an argument or you do something to hurt your significant other and you say, I'm going to fix it and you don't, then you don't say it in the first place because you lied and you like, that's to me where the issue is the same mistakes I'm seeing repeated. It's not that, certain play calling things like, look, we still have the number one offense or we have a top 5 offense. I don't care. Like, yeah, the play calling at times is man. The way this team is built also isn't built to win in December. And we've said that. I said that at the beginning of the year, that was I was concerned about it because we're built on speed and quickness and not like power and tough wins. That's why the Cowboys game was nice. But like, to me, it's like, dude, you need to show that like the mistakes are going to get fixed. Like how many challenges are we going to lose here? I'm so serious. Like you and I, we're all messaging each other laughing. Like, he throws a challenge flag, and I'm like, there's no, like they showed the replay before they spiked the ball, and I was like, don't challenge that. And they ran the play, and I was like, I hope they didn't waste the timeout, and he did. And I'm like, dude, not only did he have 2 feet in, he had his knee in too. And I don't know if it's him. I don't know if it's someone telling him to challenge. I don't know, but it needs to be fixed. And that's where I will differ with people because they like to blame. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to blame. I don't know whose fault it is. You better fix it though. Like, I don't get why it's that hard. It's stuff like that. Like you said, it's simple stuff. It's not getting 10 yards in the red zone because I think there's a lot of this offense that's about creating space.
Yeah.
And when you get in this, you can't create space. So that's why you need to run the football. But no, it's like simple stuff that it's like, dude, who's in charge of telling you to challenge? Like, you suck at it so bad. Like game clock management. Why are you rushing a play before the 2-minute warning, dude? Like, it's that type of stuff where, again, I want to go back to what I said at the beginning because we're being like very down, but it's like if you have a friend. I don't know if anyone's experienced it, but when you have a friend or you're in a relationship or a parent or a kid and they do something wrong and it's like, why? Like, why are you doing that? It needs to be fixed, dude. Like, it's not acceptable. I still root for you and I'm still rooting like hell and supporting you because I'm a Dolphins fan. But it's like it's not the level it's at right now is unacceptable. And like every single game we go against top tier elite coaches. It's not a talent gap. Like
No.
it's not. We're one of the most talented teams in the NFL. I know we have injuries, but like you shouldn't be getting out coached by Mike Vrabel. Dude, like what are you doing? You went against Sean McDermott, outclassed against Nick Sirianni, or what are we talking about? Actually, that was really the only game we just got out physical or out talented.
So I kind of just want to like real quick on the challenges. Like at this point, for me, it's clearly him. Like he panics. He doesn't want the play to happen. The next play, like he wants to challenge, and I guess maybe in his mind he's okay with losing the timeout. But dude, it's gonna come back to haunt you where you burn one challenge, and then you're gonna burn another challenge, and then you're not gonna have any challenges, and there's gonna be a clear, obvious drop that you can't challenge, and like, what are you gonna do at that point? You'll be like, well, it's a good thing, in the middle of the first quarter, we wasted that challenge on a questionable play. And like the challenge itself, like the context of the situation, it was a big game, gets them to the one. Like I get it, but you have to strip yourself out of that, like, and be the head coach. Like you have to make the right decision there, and either wait for word or let the play happen. Like move on. The timeouts are valuable. And then just one other quick thing. Like what you said earlier, I thought was a really good point. Like the team just isn't locked in. Like I don't know if it's because they have Hard Knocks 2 now. Like you could see it more, but like I don't want to sound simple and this isn't fair, but like they just have too much fun. Like that's like and that's okay and everything. But
I don't even know if it's the fun. I just think they're like, again, I'm not
laid back.
I don't even. Well, yeah, and I don't even want to say this because, like, trust me, if I got in a fight with any one of them, they would put me in a hospital. But like, I'm saying compared to other teams that I see that consistently play good football, they just seem like a soft team.
Yeah,
and again, I'm not trying to say compared to me.
Dolphins aren't that level.
Look, playing football, you have to be so tough. I'm saying, it's like saying if you compare Donald Trump to Jeff Bezos, you're like, dude, you're poor. Right? But compared to me, you're a billionaire. I'm saying compared to the rest of the NFL landscape, like there's just like I don't even know. And it's not toughness like
Ray Lewis. There's no Ed Reed.
But not
who's going to be like, I'm not going to let the guy on the other side of the field.
Yeah. And it's not even too, I think it's like a mindset too. Like I don't like at the end of the day, I don't know. And I think it's because maybe they play in Miami, and Miami, it's the culture where it's like when you live in Baltimore, dude, it's miserable. And when you live in Miami, it's a little different. It's kind of like if you grew up and you had a lot of money, it's like, okay, well, you could still work hard, but it's like a different grind. I don't know if that makes sense.
Enough, this is so random and it's not even going to make any sense, but I was taking an Uber home on Saturday or something, random guy, like never met him before. And we're just talking about the Dolphins. And he's like, what always happens with this team is they party too much. Like the city eats them alive. Like all the players, like the Miami culture, they just go out. Like they were partying last night. And like, I don't know, like whatever, dude. Like who are you? I don't know what you're even talking about. But like, man, I mean, maybe there is something to it. Like just like these guys are all young guys. Like they're all having fun. And I don't blame them for that. Like that's what I'm doing. But like at this point, it just seems right. Like,
yeah,
it's just,
but again, it's just getting completely outclassed. And I blame a lot of the coaches too, because like you got to put your guys in better situations. And to me, we'll kind of shift into the Bills just for like 5-10 minutes before next podcast when we preview it. But like, I don't know, man, like guys just don't seem prepared at all. Like I don't know a contender. People say the San Francisco 49ers. Dude, the 49ers threw like 5 interceptions and only lost by 2 touchdowns. I'm like, we got blown out like 56-19. I've never seen a contender. And that kind of leads me to the Bills and my view of this team moving forward. Like, we're not a contender. And I don't know why people act like we are. I guess it's because they're afraid that if they say it, that means they're not Dolphin fans. But like, dude, contenders don't lose 56-19. I don't know if I need to break who I need to break that to.
You think
You can blame it on
take the Ravens in the rematch?
right. Like, I'm like, what about that game made you go, oh no, if we got them next time?
Yeah.
Like the 49ers, if they play the Ravens again, I said they probably won't have 5 turnovers, and I think it'd be a much better game. Not that they'd win, but it'd be a much better game. There was nothing. The only way to have a better game against the Ravens is to scrap everything you did. Literally every single thing you did other than like featured Devon Achane. But yeah, so moving forward with this team, going into the Bills, it's like, again, I'm still going to root for the Dolphins and everything, but I'm just going to say this right now, and this is going to offend people, and I'll lose followers over it, but I don't care. If the Bills won by less than 20, I'd be shocked. I'm at that point where it's like to me, I know you have everything on the line. You had everything on the line against the Ravens too. You had everything on the line. You had everything on the line against the Titans too. I think people forget that right now we already would have had the AFC East clinched by the Baltimore game if you would have beaten the Titans. Every time we've had stuff on the line, Tua, Tyreek, that's someone that no one talks about, even though he's sensational. Every time something's on the line, Tyreek drops passes. Tua, nowhere to be found. The defense crumbles. Mike McDaniel, flustered, crumbles. So, like, I don't know why. I'm rooting for the Dolphins. I'm hoping they win. But what about that performance makes you think that they're going to go against a Bills team that is going to be fired up as hell to show, man, you guys had a 3-game lead on us and we still won the division? I have a feeling, I don't want it to happen, but I have a feeling they're going to demolish us on Sunday Night Football. Like, whoop our ass. It's going to be bad.
I'm not as pessimistic as you. I'll just be honest. I still think we can win, but not because of the Dolphins. Like, I don't think the Dolphins win the game. I think the Bills beat themselves. I think
I could see it. Yeah.
McDermott, Allen can throw the game away. The Dolphins can win.
The worst game Josh Allen's ever had against us was like last year at the beginning, and he still had like 2 touchdowns. Like, if you do people understand that like the Dolphins single-handedly won Lamar the MVP? Like, Josh Allen's career stats against the Dolphins are enough to earn him a second contract, let alone like the other, like consistently against him. He has his best game. So that's why I'm like,
by his staff. If he didn't have his staff, when he had Dable, we saw how good he could be.
Right. Like but that's the thing is like people are like, well, look at how the Bills are playing. It's like, dude, like, but it's the like I hate to say that, but it's like, but it's the Dolphins. Like, they're gonna come out, and I just have the worst feeling ever. When I saw that it was on Sunday Night Football, I was like, oh my God, because that's the thing I have the issue with Mike McDaniel is he goes out, and I love him to death, but he goes out and talks about, this is a great opportunity to prove ourselves. It's like, dude, every time you've had to prove yourself in front of an audience, you like are a disaster, like missed calls, missed challenges, bad play calling, frantic, late to the line of scrimmage. It's like, dude, every time there are those games, that's what happens. And I don't want it to be that way, but that's just how it is. So again, until it's proven otherwise to me, every time we play big games against big opponents, really good opponents, like think about this. Bills, 3 best teams we've played. Bills, I don't count the Chiefs because they're not good. Eagles, Baltimore Ravens. 48 points given up, 31 points given up, 56 points given up in those 3 games. On offense, 20 points scored, 17 points scored, 19 points scored. There is a direct correlation when you face the biggest opponents, the best teams in the biggest moments, everyone, and that starts with the coach, crumbles. And I have nothing in me, even though I'm going to be rooting like hell for them to win, understand the difference, rooting like hell for them to win, my heart and my mind tell me they are just not ready and they are going to get demolished. And I fear that. And I don't want it to happen, but that's just, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's if there's any Bills fan, like I have a couple friends who are Bills fans, and like I was joking with them texting after the Titans game I was like, I conceded the division. But yeah, man, like it's just brutal. Like it's every year. It's every year. I mean, what can you say at this point? Like you said, for me, I need to physically see them do it to believe. Like
Right.
I'm over the hope, like the preseason, this, that, like even this year, it's so
No.
crazy
I
how
need to see you win a playoff game. Nothing else matters at this point to me.
how
I'm
hollow
sorry.
this season feels, and it's the best season in my life as a Dolphins fan.
Right.
And this year feels just as hollow, as empty as the rest. And maybe they can go on, win this game, play the Steelers, or go play the Chiefs and win a playoff game. But like, still, does it feel like we made tangible,
Right.
real, like growth
Well,
to the point where we're ready to win a Super Bowl?
let's see what we do next week. Again, everyone's saying that, everything's on the line for them. All right, well, this is how I'm making my decision. Everything's on the line for you. Let's see what happens. My suspicion, based off of just going off of what's happened in the past, is they're going to crap the bed. We'll see what happens. That's just what they've done in the past. So I'm assuming that will happen. If they go out and win a game against a team that I think is better than us right now, they win a game against them to win the AFC East, I'll be like, okay, I don't know what happened against Baltimore, but if it goes out and what I think will happen, not that I hope it happens, but if what I think happens, then
I personally am like throwing out the Baltimore game from like a standpoint of just that's such like just getting your teeth kicked in that bad. You have to like throw it out. Like that's not going to happen
right.
all the time.
Yeah.
But still, like, what more do you have to see if you're a Dolphins fan at this point to just like be honest with yourself? Does this team have it? Like that's a contender there. Like if you want to that level, like we feel so far away from that, and it has always felt that way. And here we are again. Like it feels like we're 100 million miles away from the Super Bowl. I think the point where I'm getting to, like how I feel right now, and this is because of the game and everything. I feel like we're in for another 10 years of just like we're gonna, instead of being 8-8, we're gonna be 9-7. We're gonna be first round out. We'll win a playoff game every now and then, but the second round, like when we play the elite teams, like can we hang with them? Like we haven't been able to. Like it just feels like a vicious cycle that is continuing and will continue on here. And yeah, we'll wrap up here. Any final thoughts from you?
On to Buffalo.
We're on to Buffalo. Yeah, I mean, thank you everyone for listening. This was a great therapy session. I hope for everyone too. You're listening. Continue pushing on. We still do have everything to play for. Who knows? Even a broken clock is right twice a day. So maybe that'll happen. Maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe we'll see. Maybe they'll rise to the occasion. I'm not ruling that out either, but haven't seen it yet, so not expecting it. But thank you so much, everyone, for listening. Sincerely, we hope to continue this all of 2024, and hopefully there's better times ahead in the future. But again, thanks for listening, guys. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Continue to be here with us on this journey of Dolphins pain. But thanks again. Happy New Year, guys. And take care. Fins up.